A question of balance. Let's start by looking at this from a horizontal view. You know, when we think about fairness, our natural human instinct is to look horizontally at the person standing right next to us, right? We compare our duties to theirs. Well, this is the exact grievance posed by a woman to a scholar in our source material. She asks, why did Islam make us bound to obey the husband, while not making the husband bound to our obedience? Now, put yourself in her shoes for a second. Looking at her immediate day-to-day life, she basically sees a one-way street. She's feeling bound by a rule that just doesn't seem to apply in reverse.
Section 2. The scholar's counter-inquiry. Faced with this tension, the scholar does something really interesting. Instead of answering directly, the scholar replies with a totally unexpected question of his own. He asks, how many sons do you have with this husband? Now, just ponder that conversational shift for a second. If you asked someone a specific question about your partner, and they responded by asking about your kids, you'd probably be a little confused. It kind of feels like a deflection. But, as we'll see, he's actually laying the groundwork to completely restructure her entire worldview. So, the woman answers with a simple, factual statement. 3 sons. Okay, pause right here. Because this exact number, this is the absolute pivot point for the entire philosophical reveal. The scholar is about to take this everyday, normal reality and use it as a fulcrum to just entirely shift the weight of the conversation. Which brings us to section 3, the divine rebalancing, taking the vertical view.
Here is where the scholar executes a sudden, breathtaking zoom out. He totally expands the boundaries of her worldview to this macro, vertical, generational view. Just think about the math here, 1 versus 3. On one side of the ledger, you've got the one husband she was so laser focused on. But on the other side, 3 sons. He's literally taking a philosophical complaint and turning it into a mathematical reality.
Let's walk through the scholar's exact logic here, because it's fascinating. On the one hand, we see her initial grievance, right? She's commanded to obey one man, her husband. But on the other hand, 3 men, her growing sons, are commanded by that exact same philosophy to obey her. So the obligation she owes to just one individual is structurally outweighed by the absolute sovereignty she holds over 3 others. By just expanding the lens, the entire power dynamic totally flips.
Section 4, the key to paradise, the ultimate stakes. And the scholar doesn't just stop at a numbers game. He elevates this to the ultimate theological level. He says, without treating you well, they will never be able to enter paradise. I mean, wow. We are seeing this immense, staggering religious weight placed on the son's obedience. Her son's ultimate spiritual success is absolutely conditional upon how they treat her. She isn't just a participant in a household anymore. In this framework, her satisfaction is literally the gatekeeper to her son's salvation.
Section 5, gratitude and resolution, a new perspective.
So the narrative gives us a really clear resolution. The woman says, indeed, I thank Allah for the blessing of Islam. Her whole perspective shifted. She went from feeling unfairly burdened by this one specific rule to recognizing a deeply revered, highly powerful status as a mother. By looking at the generational picture, her perceived deficit was completely replaced by a sense of profound empowerment within her family structure. And that brings us to the scholar's final rhetorical question. Now you tell me, who is more bound? It really leaves us with such a provocative thought. Shifting our lens changes absolutely everything. You know, when we focus purely on a micro level of what we owe, we might feel restricted. But when we zoom out to see the entire structural system, the whole dynamic transforms. So I'm going to leave that question with you as we wrap up this explainer. When you look at the complete picture, who truly holds the ultimate power? Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep seeking